Mr. Green, in talking about the male role of the family, raising the family and looking after the family and that sort of thing, I realized they had to excel in hunting and fishing. Even now our people love to hunt with the bow and arrow. I understand that the blowgun was used efficiently. Could you tell us how they made the blowgun and maybe something about its use?
First, let me mention concerning its effect. Of course, it was made from a reed that they hollowed out and straightened over the fire, and of course darts were made from hickory, usually hickory wood, and thistledown was applied to one end, tied to one end, enough to fill the bore of the reed of which they would hollow out our river cane. And its effect, of course, would not be advisable for big game, deer, or anything like that, but mainly used on small game such as rabbits and squirrels and groundhogs. And one of the early writers, Lieutenant Henry Timberlake, who saw the Indians in early days in 1762 use the blowgun, he states that the young boys used it mostly, and they hunted small game with it. And the object was to shoot at the animal's eye, and I'm quoting now, Lieutenant Henry Timberlake. The object was to shoot at the animal's eye, off which they seldom ever missed. So the effect of the blowgun is much greater than what one would ordinarily imagine, not only in hunting but also in warfare, because so often the Cherokees would poison the darts. I could go into details of telling how they did it and so forth, but they certainly used poison extracted sometimes even from poisonous snakes, and also with certain herbs, roots, and the like. They would use a poison, which may not be effective at the moment, but eventually the people in warfare that was hit with a blow dart, they would die from blood poisoning. And of course, if it was poison from rattlesnake venom, why, very quickly they had a dose of rattlesnake poison and wouldn't take long to die. So the blowgun within itself looks so harmless and ineffective, but when used properly by one that knows how to use it, it is very effective in hunting and even in warfare.
That's pretty neat. I guess it took a little while to get your skill up to where you could aim and hit whatever the object was.
Well, let me comment on this. Now, a few days ago, of course, I brought a blowgun in here in the office, and within 15 minutes, the boys that were working with me was using it effectively.
Really?
Because it doesn't take but just a little bit of instructions to show how effective it is. So some of the darts, I could show you a board in there that is a half an inch thick. The darts would penetrate all the way through the board.
Really? My goodness.
Almost unbelievable, but
Yes.
still the boys that were using it, boys with the Park Service, and they have it now playing with it, of course. And they're using it. They would shoot and say, "I can't believe it. I just can't believe what I see."
Mm-hmm.
It was so effective.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure any time there's a change in culture or a lifestyle change, it's painful, for the peoples that are involved. And the religious background, as I understand, the religious nature of the Cherokee nations, it was for them to be moralistic, and as I understand it, they believed in the Great Spirit. Is that correct? A Great Spirit, or is it...
Making it, a statement very short, but when you examine on the surface the belief of the Cherokees and other Indians too, of course, when you examine carefully their religious belief, it fits closely and will stand alongside with Christianity. Yes, of course, they believed in the Great Spirit. As much as they know, or much as they knew concerning the Great Spirit, they could see and understand that some power beyond any power that they knew could make a grain of corn grow. They knew that there was some power beyond any power that they knew that would cause the grass to come up and the vegetation to bloom, so to speak, and the fruits that would follow the blooming of vegetation. And they knew when they looked in the heavens and they couldn't go up there. They had no way, of course, even going up above the mountaintops as we have today. But still, on the other hand, in simple terminology, they would say it like this: we know if we are good, we go up. And we know if we're bad, we go down. Well, now, so often we refer to heaven as above and to hell as below.
So your Christian faith, you're a Christian man.
Yes.
Your Christian faith is just compatible with your ancestors.
Yes, very much so. Standing side by side. And I might go a little farther in stating this. I believe that the Creator drew much closer to the Indians spiritually, with spiritual understanding, than he did the white man, due to the fact the white man had biblical directions. The Indian did not have. But he was sincere in knowing or learning concerning the Creator before the Bible came. And of course, when the white man first introduced the Bible to him, many of them accepted it readily. And may I quote one old Indian chief whose name was Augustus Alban. Let me correct myself now concerning this. Anyway, his name meant grounding, but Yanoganski, which means grounding bear. Now, when the Bible began coming into the Cherokee Nation and other books, he had to examine all books before he would let it be distributed among his people. So when they brought to him the Bible, he had someone to read out of it. Of course, this was before the Bible was translated into the Cherokee language. He had someone to read for several hours out of the New Testament. And then I quote, he says, "It is a good book, and it is too bad that the white man has had it so long, and yet he's no better than what he is." So the Cherokees accepted the logic of the Bible And they accepted the teachings concerning Jesus the Christ. And his name is mentioned in all prayers that are made. And his name is mentioned in all services, religious services. In other words, he is accepted due to the teachings that has been brought to them of the Bible. And of course now we do have and I have one myself, the Bible that is written in Cherokee language. And many of my people study this Bible carefully. And when one believes in it, he doesn't take it just on the surface. He believes it wholeheartedly. It's not something that he thinks, well, maybe so. Mm-hmm. But when he studies concerning how God created the earth,
that's the way it was.
That's the way it is. Mm-hmm. And when he reads John 3:16, he said that includes me. Mm-hmm. So
what he'd found was just a confirmation of what he already knew, wasn't it?
That's a good way of putting it. That's the best way that I would know. It just confirms what he already knew.
In his heart and in his mind. So, well, that interests me.
May I tell you a little story?
Yes.
Several years ago, while working in Knoxville, I received an eye injury. When I said a moment ago that I believe that the Creator drew closer to the Indians than he did the white man spiritually, this I hope will illustrate what I was saying. So I received this injury, an eye injury, by working, and of course they rushed me to the hospital at Maryville. And I told the doctors, nurses, to call my folks at home and tell them what had happened, and inform them though that I was all right and not to worry. So that was around 6 o'clock in the evening when I told them, and they didn't call until near 9 o'clock. My father had already gone to bed. And this, when I recovered and went home, this is the story that my mother told me. She said, suddenly my father leaped out of bed, ran to the front door, excited like, and looked out, stood there for a moment, went outside and came back in, ran to the window and looked out, very excited. And she questioned, said, what's your trouble? And he says, John's hurt. And she said, oh, he isn't hurt. Get back in bed. And he says, I know he is. And then my mother says, in 15 minutes the telephone rang, telling him I was in the hospital.
Isn't that interesting?
Now, I could tell of many other instances that are similar, of which I never and under any way would attempt to mislead my father. I never would in any way misconstrue any story or anything that might happen. I knew better. He would straighten me out on it. He knew. In other words, he knew me, and how he could detect things that happened like this. I don't understand myself, but there are so many things that I saw that he did like that. I would go places and never let him know beforehand or even afterwards where I had been. When I would come back, he would tell me where I had been.
No. So he knew his son, didn't he? And he knew what was, as the father may, maybe the father knows his son. But that is interesting. Was your mother, did she have that insight, or?
To
Yeah.
some
To
extent,
some
but not to that great extent, yes. But,
It's unusual, isn't it, to us nowadays, sit and talk about it, but did you think that everybody's father was that way, or did you?
one other comment I might make. My mother would tell me after I was left home, and she would tell me like this, that my father would get up and he'd say, well, you better fix something extra today to eat. John will be here about 11 o'clock. And she said I wouldn't miss that time, 30 minutes.
Isn't that unusual?
Oh, I could tell many things, but it'll get to the point where you won't even believe it.
Well, that's so interesting. That's just really interesting.
So we fit all of that in together, I would say, with the Indians' belief in the Creator, his acceptance of the teachings of the Bible. And it's, as you say, it is all compatible with Christian religion.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Green.